Hello, and welcome back to the Powered by Ground podcast. I'm Kevin Winkle. David Kornienko is with me in the building today. David, how you doing today?
Hey, Kevin. Very well. Yourself?
Doing excellent. Can't complain. Thanks for asking.
Thank you.
Well, every week we have vowed to bring you guys valuable information that's going to help you to build your business in the new construction space. And this week is going to be no different. This week, David and I are going to talk about one of the most important things that people are missing right now,
hmm
and that is making sure that their listings are up to date and up to snuff. As much as the sellers might want to drag their feet and not really be honest with themselves about what year we're in now and what's going on in the market, and this can be true, we know it can, there are some things that the buyers are asking for. Everyone wants stuff brand new. They want it crispy. Every first time home buyer walks into a house, and the second they see grandma's kitchen, they run. So we're going to talk a little bit today about what some strategies are, how we can deal with that, make the transactions happen, and go and keep going forward and moving forward and having our business grow. So David, I know you see a lot on both sides, on the new construction and on the resale side. So maybe you
Yeah,
can talk
we
a little
always
bit about
try.
it.
Yeah, Kevin. We always try to keep a pulse on the market and just the feedback that we're getting from brokers, buyers, sellers. It's a combination of everything. You have to always check the pulse of the market, where you're at locally. I mean, and then spot on. Per zip code, everything really changes. But the landscape has really changed. 2025 has definitely been a pivot in the market. Whatever news channel you listen to, or people who you're talking to. But we're definitely talking to a lot of people, boots on the ground, sales reps, inside salespeople, outside salespeople, and just getting a feel for the buyers. But what's interesting is, real estate goes up in cycles. It goes up, it goes down. When it goes down, it goes back up, and so forth. And people have different expectations when the market changes. And this is the things that we want to bring in this podcast, and just in general, the expectation, when the expectation changes, it's really good to be proactive. And when we're proactive to the change of the expectation, whether it's the buyers or the sellers, first of all, we're more aggressive. We sound a lot more professional. And third, we definitely get transactions to close because you're meeting everybody's expectations. There's a lot less tension and a lot less glitches throughout the transaction.
Right. It really is important, and every transaction is super different. Super different. And I know I've come across some recently um where I've seen these houses that they've done a little bit of work on them, but only a little bit, right? It's mismatched. They'll have
hmm
some floors finished and new, some of it is kind of old and dated. And I know the seller thought it was a good idea that they'd brought it up enough to snuff, but then as soon as the buyers walk in, they're like, "Oh, why'd they stop at the bathroom? Like, what? Why didn't they finish it? Oh well, next house." And they just move right on to the next thing. They don't. No one, no one wants to lift a finger, which is really different because I know that my parents' generation, their idea was that they're going to get a starter home and they're going to have to put in some elbow grease and they'll have to fix it up and be in it over time. And then they kind of carried that on into their step up houses, and even now as they're going into downsizing, they're thinking that same kind of internal story about their real estate journey. And that's just on the buyer side generationally. Well, first time buyers, which I'm filthy with them right now, working with a ton of them, they have no concept of this. This is absolutely foreign to them entirely. And so we have to realize that our entire real estate industry has been trained by people and has been built up, and all the training materials were built by people that are my parents' age. And so there's this perspective and thought that most people are going to be willing to maybe put in some elbow grease and fix it up. And I'm just not seeing that with the younger groups of buyers that are coming in. So, David, what could an agent do, especially on the listing side or even on the buyer's rep side, to be a little bit more prepared for this?
And again, it's interesting. I talked to a broker in Midwest, and he mentioned that, what, and he actually was in the Pacific West. He worked as a broker and fix and flip and all of that, and then he moved to the Midwest. And he said it's so different. I was like, "What's different?" He's like, "What does it mean to have a move-in ready home?" Right? And he's like, in Midwest, a move-in ready home can have a broken dishwasher. And he's like, in the Pacific Northwest, a move-in house has to have, no spots, no paint spots on the wall. So what, and that's where I feel like, again, going back to that expectation, we really have to, as brokers, hear what the clients need, what the clients want, and get there. And that's part of today's discussion, that our clients want a lot more. And I think all the brokers are feeling it, that the clients are expecting a lot more, the buyers, for what they're paying, because they feel like they're buying something that's very expensive. The mortgages are high, rates are high. So they're definitely paying the premium to get into a home. So they're expecting a lot more. And this is basically how I see, the market shifting. And to cater to buyers, I mean, one of the things that we believe that you have to have as a tool in your toolbox now, dear brokers, is you have to have contractors, really good vendor contractors, because
Yeah.
resale is competing against new home sales. And when we talk about new home sales, I feel like it's the first time in history. I did some stats report and study this week. First time in like 30 years where new homes are actually cheaper than resale. That means resale is competing with new homes, new dishwasher, new range, new microwave, new carpet, new paint, new roof, new everything, right? So in
Yeah.
resale, you have to button up these homes before you take them to the market. Brokers
Totally.
have to do due diligence and do walkthroughs and do recommendations and figure out how maybe contractors need to carry certain fees to help the seller. But all these conversations now have to take place because the expectation for the buyer pool is so much higher, and then there's just less buyers in the market.
It really is. That gap in between the prices of new construction and resale
Hmm.
has closed in
Hmm.
COVID. For whatever reason, everyone was selling grandma's house for the price of a brand new, fresh off fresh off the assembly line house.
Hmm.
And so that really got tipped. And so everyone's expectations are, no matter what, like, they just don't want a project. The only people that want a project want to pay 70% of the retail value of the house. So if your house is going to be 500,000, yeah, you're going to sell for a lot less
Hmm.
than that. That's not what they want to pay you for it. They want to pay about 335 or 325 if it's going to be 500,000.
Hmm.
Um, and that's just it. So to those of you brokers out there that are listing the resale homes, know that, the big companies, the big box builders are pushing their prices down, 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 and down, which actually is also kind of squeezing a little bit on the smaller mom and pop onesie twosie builders that aren't doing 1,000 homes at a time, that are doing 20 and less, and because of the cost of materials, right? The bigger box guys, they get it for a
Yeah.
little bit cheaper. Yeah.
And
So
again, Kevin, like, and this is what we always talk about in our broker training, whether in Powered by Ground or other places. Brokers have to increase their vendor toolbox, and they have to, and we talk about this. Yes, we're servicing our clients, but what are we servicing them? Well, a network of other people that can help them move from wherever they're at to wherever they need to go. And I feel like that's exactly what brokers need to equip. And who does the best in this market? Well, those brokers who are the most aggressive, or who have the biggest toolbox, meaning they know how to service their clients from any angle, and they're willing to provide all of these services just so the transaction can move forward. So I truly believe that, yeah, brokers need to increase their vendor pool. And what we see is a lot of subcontractors who used to work in new home sales are definitely moving to resale, or property management, or preservation, or restoration. I mean, guys are moving in that direction because there's just not enough work in the new homes, because things are just slowing down for where the market is at. And again, like, a lot of people feel like, oh, what's happening? Well, the shift is happening, so
Yeah.
and the markets shift, they go up and they go down. And
Yep.
again, we're going to reiterate that the biggest issue with a lot of brokers is we're always late.
Yeah.
So when you see homes, sitting on the market 100 days, 50 days, 30 days, like that should tell you like where your buyer pool is, and your buyer pool is not willing to pay you for wherever you're at, which is absolutely okay. But you have to make these true assessments, and these hard calls, whether it's price adjustment, whether it's credits, whether it's renovation, right? So if you're working resale and the house needs a new roof, well, it actually pays to put on a new roof versus trying to sell as is, because you're going
Right.
to get dinged so much more on the price, or like that carpet. And we have a client right now, she wants to list, and she's like, oh, I want to just give a carpet credit. And I'm like, well, yes and no. Like, most buyers don't even want your credit, they just want that new carpet. But it's so hard to, bring this across to many homeowners, because
Yeah.
they just don't want to spend more money, to get their home to wherever it needs to be. But you have to spend the money if they really want to sell in today's market. And that's where I think we have to vet the motivation. We have to vet the motivation, and how to really incorporate all the tools we have to, help our clients in this current market.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even for myself, the most successful listings that I've had are the ones that are willing to do that business or do that work to it beforehand. I mean, I've had a couple
Mm-hmm.
that were like pretty darn good. Carpet was in okay, decent shape. Nothing actually wrong with the place. It was just a little dated, and it sat
Mm-hmm.
and it sat. And so there's one in particular not long ago that the guy was thinking, okay, maybe it's not going to sell. And I told him, look, take it off for 7 days, redo this floor. Let's get some new photos in here
Mm-hmm.
and watch it go. And it was gone in 3 days after he
There
redid the
you go.
floor. And he was like,
And,
what?
and
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is why
And
we talk preservation, renovation,
yeah.
preservation. Let's start with, the curb appeal. What's your
Yeah.
curb appeal like? Is there a clean bark? Is the driveway power washed? Is the front of the house, is the paint, still fresh, right? Or maybe we need to refreshen the paint of the front of the house. But like, are the gutters clean, right? You don't have, 2 foot weeds growing out of your gutters. But that's all what has to do with preservation, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's the entry point. Do you have a big tree that just needs to get, buttoned up, cleaned up, cut down or whatever, it's overgrown and so forth. But these are just basic stuff. And like, in preservation, it usually is like $1,000 or $2,000. It's not like, you're going to spend $5,000 power washing the front of your home. But those are the things that, people, they show up. And I always say, buyers have maybe 5 8 minutes to look at your home. Like, so you got to
Yeah.
make the first impression great, the last impression great. You
Yep.
have to leave an impression. So like, preservation starts with all of these little things, right? And then kind of renovation, right? And then what's the renovation? It's, do you have a broken window, right? Like, fix it. Do you have a broken seal on a window? Fix that. So these are all preservation things, because those things are going to get called out on the inspection. And buyers are
Yeah.
going to ask for that either way. They don't want to, broken window seal, because that mold grows inside the window, blah 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 blah. So like, buyers are going to ask for that window to be fixed, right?
Yep.
Usually everywhere where there's sinks or bathrooms, there's always some kind of a, moisture issue, right? So like,
Sure.
address those. Go take a look at it. Is there's too much water under the sink, or was there water, or was it a leaking place, and so forth. HVAC, service, or water heater service. All of those usually have a good 10, 20-year lifespan. So after 10 years, there's a higher chance, that something might go wrong with those units. So have those things checked. Cost $200, to order an inspection on HVAC, or water heater. And all of these things are just like, I remember like sewer scope was not an issue, not a thing. Now like, after so many bad news reports, right, about backed up sewers and so forth, whether it's even new homes. We had a handful of backed up sewers in new homes because contractors or stuff gets into the pipe and so forth. But like having all of these things kind of lined up and spoken for really gets a smoother transaction. And where there's already so much emotions in the air, whether it's a seller or buyer, it just does not benefit to keep adding more emotional triggers or situations which don't really bring that much, excitement to the transaction. So brokers really need to maybe take a contractor or two and go through a handful of houses on the resale and kind of see what, a good contractor will call things out.
They totally do. I have to say, brokers for the most part, they aren't all that well versed in construction unless they come from that kind of a background. And so
Mhm.
that's really a different kind of angle and a different eye that we need to look at these properties from. And we just have to remember that we're always trying to disqualify stuff, and our buyers are doing exactly that. They're trying to disqualify the house that they're looking at before they even get
Mhm.
there. From the moment
Yeah.
they turn into the neighborhood, they're looking for anything that they can do a smudge of paint on the front door to disqualify
Mhm.
a whole house. So are now the sellers, they all think that their home is perfect. They've lived there for quite a while. If we're talking resale, they think it's great. Everything is good. But the second that they move out, we know that the dog slept there next to the wall because we can see the smudge. We know that the carpet
Mhm.
was here. The rug was anyway, because it's different color than the rest of the carpet.
Mhm.
And the sellers are like, what? It's fine. No, it's out of the running. It's just absolutely dead in the water. When we have a situation now where we're going into that shift of a buyer's market, it's heavy competition, like big time. So our sellers aren't aware that it's not 2021 out there. So it's definitely on us to deal with that. And the listing agents that are winning right now and that have the edge, they do have those contractor pools. They've got paint people
Mhm.
on speed
Mhm.
dial ready to come over and have your bathroom painted by tomorrow. They've got people
Mhm.
who can come in and redo all that messed up drywall, or they have a bench. They've got contractors that are there. So David, maybe you can give a little advice on how exactly they can find the contractors. Everyone can open the phone book, everyone can Google search, but that doesn't mean you're going to end up with a good one. So, what are some steps that agents can take when they're searching to find that contractor that can really back them up and give them that competitive edge and vet them? What are the steps that they should follow there?
So yeah, I feel like, HR work is so important. Like we have to vet talent and people. And I feel like starting with those, when you're talking to a roofer, ask him how long he's been around, how many years he's been doing it, where has he done the work and so forth. So I feel like, it's really important to ask, questions that are get you a background history on your contractor, right? Who do you work for right now? Which jobs have you done, and so forth? If that's like you're just starting brand new on trying to interview a contractor, but I feel like you have to interview a good a handful, at least like we talked preservation and restoration. So under your preservation, it's guys who power wash, clean roof, a good landscaper. Preservation is just moss remove on the roof. So those are all your preservation guys. You need at least, 3, 4 contractor, just like we spoke. In preservation, renovation is a little bit more, a good window company, a good roofing company, a good you know a good flooring company, maybe even a countertop. So these are everybody in restoration that you want to renovation that you want to really be in touch with, because those are the people that are going to help you do a lot bigger, remodeling projects.
Yeah, there's actually a fair amount of them out there. I know it firsthand. There are. You can find them. If you
Mm-hmm.
agents are having difficulty finding good contractors and good folks to work with, I know in our company, if anyone called David, if anyone called me, if anyone called, any of
Mm-hmm.
the other top agents, we are happy to connect our people with jobs. So unless of course we have them working on one, but even then, we like to help keep our contractors
Mm-hmm.
going. So you don't have to feel alone out there. Connect with your other agents, connect with your market centers, connect with past clients, and just ask people who's doing a really good job for folks, and you'll find out pretty quickly um, who you can get plugged in with. I know that other
And we
agents have
and we
been a
have to pivot,
resource.
Kevin.
Yeah,
A lot of brokers don't want to pivot, and it's very uncomfortable, and it forces us to do things we are not or have not been used to doing. All of those things
yeah,
are what we have to do, to continue going forward. So we have to pivot. We have to um, expand our network of people we know. And this is the time that you have to do that. And we're reassessing things in our office and our team and how we do business. Because yes, you have to make adjustments on all of these levels.
yeah, yeah. So, um, any major tips, any like major red flags or something people should watch out for when they're looking for contractors, like an easy way to get trapped up? Any insight on that?
I mean, we talked kind of about the basic things, just knowing how long they've been around, who they're doing business for, and then I would definitely, especially on the renovation stuff, I'd highly advise to go and actually look at the stuff they've done and assess. And also, I feel like if you do those, it will give you a better opportunity, at the guys. So I mean, the vendor pools, just like I think in the broker pools, the top 20% are the guys who are serious about what they do it well, and so forth. And then 80% is like you gotta vet them out. They're kind of here for the moment, and then they leave the market. So that's kind of what I see.
Right. Gotcha. Yeah. So can't
Cool.
stress that importance enough as building a good bench and constantly going through those contractors and always trying to meet new ones. Outside of just the phone book, guys, there are some places that you can actually meet them in real life in the world.
Mm-hmm.
At the HBA meetups, the Home Builders Association, or any
Mm-hmm.
of the BIA events, the
Mm-hmm.
Builders Industry Association. They have mixers and public facing stuff all the
Mm-hmm.
time. It's a really good place to go and meet some of the contractors.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly,
And
Kevin.
also reaching out to your builders sometimes. I
Mm-hmm.
know even
Yeah.
myself, I reached out to one of my favorite builders and got a electrician contact. And he took a little while because he was on a job, but he still got through and did fantastic. Did a really high level job. So, I wasn't just calling someone's cousin or calling a favor or calling out of the phone book. It was actually a real source, and I got a really great professional out of it. So, super, super grateful for that. And that's just one of the strategies that you guys can employ to kind of build that bench and build that back up, because this is a big shift, a really big shift, where before you could just put it on the market nice and clean anyway, or fairly, and still get some kind of offer for it. Now, even a fairly clean and mostly dialed listing is going to sit and sit and
Mm-hmm.
sit. And because you can't compete, like who wants to buy an old Kia when they can purchase a new Tesla for the same price? They don't, they're
Mm-hmm.
not going to do it. And that's really the thing that these big box builders have done, is to drive that price of the new construction, of some of it anyways, down, 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 so that even what would be a nicer home, but just because it's a little dated,
Mm-hmm.
won't sell. They'll go with
Correct.
they'll go with the new construction. So yeah, those of us that are equipped for it, definitely, I think, are going to stand a little bit better chance. If you need to learn more about working in new construction and really how the whole industry works, make sure you get tapped in with the YouTube channel. David's put a huge amount of information on the Powered by Ground YouTube to help equip brokers and get them ready for working in the new construction space. And if you want to get more direct questions answered, one-on-one coaching, things like that, reach out to us. We're in the comments below. And I know David's got a ton of resources, and we're just here to help. David, before we leave them today, is there any thoughts that you want to leave folks with?
No, we're always excited to be a resource and just a hub here. Just a lot of good, and I appreciate Kevin everything you do on just interviewing a lot of other people in the industry, whether it's finance, title, vendors, lenders, lenders at different tiers of product, whether it's land finance, vertical, and so forth. And we just want to bring that information out there because a lot of it is not available for brokers, and this definitely creates an opportunity for them to apply to their business, grow their business, and so forth. And if they feel like they want to reach out to you or I, we could definitely talk about how we can be involved in their business and their operation.
Absolutely. So, want to thank you all for tuning in and listening with us so far. If you haven't yet, make sure you make sure you give us a comment, let us know how we're doing, subscribe to the channel, and share it if you can. And it goes a long ways. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, please rate the podcast. It does help us to get this information out to more people who could take advantage of it. And all the gratitude in the world. Thanks again for being with us today, you
Thank you.
guys.
Yes.
We look forward to bringing you more valuable information in the future. If there's certain topics you want us to cover, leave it in the comments or send us a direct message, and we're happy to address your questions. All right. Have a great one, you guys. Take care. We'll see you in the next one.
Take care. Uh huh.